Okay, look, I don't have the bingo card ready, but I couldn't wait. It's Romania Black, and yeah, I couldn't wait. The bingo card is gonna be for season 2. We're just gonna say it now. It's gonna be for season 2. That's my next goal, to get the card ready for season 2. That's my goal. Also, to keep this microphone from turning the other way so y'all can hear me. Hopefully that's the case. But yeah, so we are on episode 10 of season 1 of Windbreaker. I'm so excited we have a season 2. That's gonna be great. I'm probably just gonna give you all a heads up now. I am probably going to, I know this season has 13 episodes, and then season 2 has 12. I'm probably gonna take a week off between episodes 13 and episode 14, aka season 2, episode 1. There'll be an extra on the channel during that week off so that people can catch up with season 1 reactions and all that. And just to get to build up some hype for season 2. So that's what we're gonna do. Because usually on my channel, I take a week off after seasons or series are done. That's gonna happen so I can get some extras in. January is gonna be a busy month. January 2026 is gonna be a busy month. So I'm already thinking ahead on that. But yeah. So, we're on episode 10. We just faced, it was Choji versus Umemiya, and Umemiya basically just stopped the fight, and I wouldn't say he mopped the floor with Choji, but put him in his place, that's for sure. So I'm curious to see, I feel like this episode's gonna be a transitional episode. We're going to be finishing up the discussion with Choji and Shishitoren, and then figuring out the end aftermath of that. This might be an aftermath episode. And then the rest of the last 3 episodes, 11, 12, and 13, will be starting the new arc that's gonna lead us into season 2. And I'm pretty excited about that. That should be a lot of fun. But before we dive in any further, I want to talk about episode 10 of Windbreaker with the comments for this episode. I was looking at my notes. It says Windbreaker episode 10, and then we have the comments I want to talk about. The first is for episode 6 from Aerith 1202 that says, "I like you have a different idea than mine about the Sako and Hiragi situation." They said, "My thought process is Hiragi didn't think that Sako was weak and had to protect him if Sako had gone with him to Furin. Hiragi actually didn't want Sako to be disappointed with him because he didn't try to take the top spot. He thought the moment he said he would follow Umemiya, Sako would be disappointed and regret following him, so Hiragi decided to push him away rather than for Sako to keep following him. While Sako is actually angry at the fact that Hiragi chose to let him go rather than to let Sako decide on his own." That's a really cool perspective. I like that. I like that perspective. I think it's cool we can look at those scenes and kind of pick apart it in different ways. But yeah, I do think it is kind of sad, like Aerith says here in this comment, that Sako didn't get to decide on their own. Hiragi was just like, "Nope, I got this. You go do your own thing and I'll do my thing." And Sako's like, "Well, what if I don't want to do that?" And Hiragi's like, "Can't hear you." You know. It's kind of sad. Someone also said that we're going to talk about that here in this next comment, which is from Nicholas for episode 7. They said, "While I don't personally tune in with fight scenes, Windbreaker is one that I do. I love the conversation aspect that Umemiya talks about being showcased in episode 7. I am fully on board with Nicholas. I've watched a lot of battle shonen in my day, but even watching Dragon Ball Z, even watching Bleach, I was there for the character moments. Like, the fight scenes are cool and everything, but I don't memorize all the moves and all that. I'm like, I just am mainly here for the character moments, right? But Windbreaker, the choreography is so good and the animation does such a great job, and it kind of is relevant to the characterization that you kind of really get into it, and I love that. But Nicholas also talks about shipping in their comments, so I want to talk with you all about that one. They say, "I forgot to mention, but ironically, this is one series I rarely have ships with. I guess it's a rarity because I love the friendships between the guys being depicted here so much." And I would agree. I feel like there's so many options with the ships that if you want to just be like, unless you're a multi-shipper, and if you're a multi-shipper, the world is your oyster. And so, especially with this series, they said there's only one in mind, and honestly, many would support it. One of my only ships thus far is Umemiya and Hiragi. They're such parent-coded with the rest of Furin kids, and I find it so cute. But enough said, I'm going to watch the rest of the reactions. Thank you, Nicholas. Also, I feel like I'm a multi-shipper with Hiragi. I feel like so far, Hiragi is the one I'm multi-shipping all over the place because I want to ship Hiragi with Sako. I want to ship Hiragi with Tachibana, with Makoto, or not Makoto, Tachibana, that's free, with Tachibana. And then I also want to ship, I kind of like the Umemiya Hiragi ship as well. So Hiragi is just getting all the love in this series so far. I feel like Hiragi and Sakura are the two I could ship most often with other people. Like Suo, I just ship with Sakura right now. And Nirai, I'm shipping with Finding Happiness. So, and then Togami and Choji are a ship. But I feel like Hiragi and Sakura, I could see several ships for both of them. So someone in the comments even shipped like Sakura and Togami, and I was like, okay, I see you. I see you from episode 8. I get that. So then Sunspots had the last comment before we get into the reaction, saying Togami choosing to get covered in mud for Choji and Shishitoren is such a beautiful reveal for a character. I particularly love how sensitive Togami was to any slight against his devotion, because how dare anyone imply he hasn't sacrificed and suffered for his dedication. That is such a good thing to bring up. I'm really glad you did, especially for episode 7, because yeah, Togami, it makes a lot more sense now why he got so mad when people brought that up, because he's like, oh, I've given up a lot of my integrity to be in this position, excuse me. So I love that. Togami's character is just so fun. I really have loved, I honestly, to be real with you all, I did not know what to expect from Shishitoren, and we've had so much fun breaking down these characters, and Choji and Togami, I ended up really liking their arc, and although the battle with Umemiya was a damn tease. Y'all know that. It was a damn tease. They did not give us enough about Umemiya. They are keeping him reserved for special moments. I'm like, fine. So I'm going to adjust my mic here so you all can hear me as well as you can. And I'm pretty excited to dive in and see what we get. So thank you all so much for your kindness, your support, your comments. Be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel if you want to see Windbreaker every week. Check out my Patreon if you want to watch next week's episode, and comment down below on what you think about this episode. But please, no spoilers. I'll get to the end of season 1 soon enough. So yeah, in any case, we are going to start episode 10 of Windbreaker. I'm so excited. And we're going to do that here in 3, 2, 1, and let's do it to it, Lars. This was such a fun episode. Honestly, what we're going to do here in 3, 2, 1 is I'm actually going to do, since I didn't bring Whiteboard Kun out this time, we're actually going to have the screen up beside us, and we're going to walk through the episode together. Trying something different for the new year. See if y'all approve of it or not, but we're going to have like some imagery as we go through up beside it so we can talk through it. Because sometimes I feel like when I talk through things, I'm like, oh, I have a reaction to the going back through the episode. Y'all are like, oh, I wish I could see that. Well, now we're going to pull it up so you can. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, what a cool episode. Definitely an aftermath episode. I felt like, I love that the title dialogue absolutely connects with basically what Umemiya describes as the fight. It's a dialogue. It's a way to understand your opponent. It's also a way to kind of realize where they're coming from. And it leads to you being able to work things out. There is kind of like a weird, I don't know, I'm trying to think of like a way to describe it. Like when you, sometimes you just have to fight it out. But I'm like, there's a fine line. There's lots of caveats. There's lots of things to it. It's like, you don't want the metaphor to snowball out of hand. But I like afterwards that Umemiya is like, as I throw this to Huckleberry, we're gonna fight it out. And then afterwards we're gonna have food and we're gonna talk about it. And it's like, okay, like it's such an interesting approach that Umemiya has to trying to solve what's in front of him, and it's effective for right now. The whole time this episode was taking place, all I could think about was, I wonder if we're gonna get a fight that Umemiya has where the opponent is not interested in talking. They're not interested in having lunch afterwards. They're just like, because honestly, at the end of the day, Togami, a sweetheart, absolute sweetheart at the end of the day. And Choji is just a little gremlin, but he's not mean at all or has any malice. He lost his way. Kind of like Sakura, believed that he'd lost his way. But I I'm very curious what's going to happen if Umemiya faces an opponent that's just a dick. I'm just waiting for it. I'm waiting for there to be an opponent that Umemiya faces that's just not interested in the dialogue that Umemiya has. And then Umemiya has to be serious, because I don't think Umemiya was honestly serious last week. I think that was him being aggravated, but I don't think that was him being serious. Not really. I feel like the mangaka has yet to show us their hand with Umemiya, and we're going to talk about it when we get a little bit further in there. But yeah, he's like, all right, time to go home, everybody leave. I love he tells them all to go home when, like, where are they going to go? It's their turf. I love that Umemiya tells them all to leave when it's like, you do realize that this is their territory and you're like, you've come onto their turf to fight, and now you're telling them to go home. This shot of Togami is such a sweetheart. I absolutely love him. And the anime has decided that Togami is their darling, and they're going to make him look amazing in every single shot that he's in. Umemiya and Togami look fantastic in this episode. They look so good. I freaking love it. It's great. And then we get the parallel of Choji saying, well, you're really funny, Ume-chan, that he had before. That's really cool, seeing that parallel from a few episodes. Basically from the flashback of him saying you were really funny back when they had the fight under the overpass that's in back when Umemiya was a first year. The more things change, the more they stay the same, right? Yeah. The fact that Umemiya's voice actor also voices Gojo in Jujutsu Kaisen, and Gojo and Umemiya both have like the white hair and blue eyes, it's throwing me for a loop. It really throws me for a loop. Although Umemiya is, I'm not going to get into Jujutsu Kaisen spoilers, but Umemiya is a genuinely kind-hearted character who is very sincere and sweet, and he masks some of his like sincerity with kind of being a jokester, but then when he gets down to it, he does have this very sweet sincerity to him that is really nice to see. I like it. That's a wrap for today. Go home. Like, what? Get lost. He's like, where? Got takeout? I was like, I like that we went straight to, okay, where are we getting food from? Like, where are you treating us to? We beat you in a fight, so now we're not taking over your gang, but we do want food. He's like, why? He's like, this is the after party. So I love the fact that our after party is on top of the theater. I love that there's like a rooftop on the theater, and they're having it on the rooftop, and it kind of parallels the top of the school building. Although, which the theater's next door, so the after party is like the little building next door. They have it up there. Although I do want to note something that, like, with architecture symbolism, the Ori and the town there, like, doesn't it feel just closed in and kind of claustrophobic? Like a cage? You know? I feel like it feels very claustrophobic, like a cage, like Ori, whereas the high school, it's all very open with a lot of space. So I think the symbolism of those two places is kind of cool to see side by side. So yeah. So he's like, for the after party, of course. I like this food. Lots of fried food. There's gyoza. There's some potatoes. It looks like the edamame, the fried chicken, the kebabs, the what do they call it? They call that bardock. Burdock, which I think all the Dragon Ball Z characters are named after vegetables, so burdock is a vegetable. But yeah, I don't know what is burdock. We're gonna look up that up. I don't think that we have it really, but there's burdock root. Interesting. I've never ate burdock before. I don't know if it's not very common where I'm from. Yeah, interesting. It helps ground and steady the nervous system. Okay, cool. Interesting. I feel like maybe we have burdock here, but I don't think anybody eats it. That's the thing. Huh. And then, yeah, okay, so then we have this high-grade green tea. Hi, Ryokucha. Of course, the fact that Umemiya is so health-conscious and, like, has his tea and his good food there, I love Sakura's like, what? What are we doing? And then we have the OP. God, I love the OP. It's so pretty. It's so pretty. But yeah. And so he just breaks the chopsticks and dives right in. He's like, this all looks tasty. He's like, of course, it's pub food. The one thing that I gather from Umemiya and his kind of philosophy, and Sakura can't see, which you can't blame him. Sakura cannot see that there was an Umemiya from the past. Sakura is just seeing like present Umemiya. He's gotten to the top, which we'll talk about that whole method and everything there. But he sees Umemiya as he is now. We, the audience, have seen a flashback of him, and we get a little bit more insight into his character and from other people's perspectives, mind you. We've gotten it from Choji's perspective, from Hiragi's perspective. I feel like a little bit from Tachibana's perspective. My theory is, since him and Tachibana kind of like were abandoned as kids, it seems, I feel like he grew up with just Tachibana, but mostly alone. And he's like Sakura. He doesn't want to be alone. And so this was his means of finding a way to do it. But I also like that him and Sakura, even though they may have had similar circumstances in the past, they're very different people. And I like that. I like that Umemiya is offering Sakura this fresh perspective that Sakura had not even considered before. It's so cute. He's like, oh, it's all delicious. I love it. I love Manta instead of Fanta. That's really cute. The grape drink. And then I love that Hiragi is like, do not squeeze the lemon all over the food, because Hiragi has a stomach problem. He's like, I don't want the acid to upset my stomach. I love that. Also, Sugi was a lot of fun to watch in the background in this episode. There's probably going to be some moments I pause just to show Sugi in the background. He was a lot of fun to watch because he would be like reacting to whatever happened to Umemiya, like, oh, you grabbed Umemiya. Are we going to have troubles? You know? And then his whole reaction to Sakura was just wonderful. I loved it. So yeah. And so Narai's like, I can't believe they're going to eat. I'm not surprised under these circumstances that they are eating, because if Dragon Ball Z has taught you anything, or if One Piece has taught you anything, after a giant shonen battle, you got to eat up. You got to get those muscles back. You got to feed those muscles that you just exerted all that energy with. The one thing that I noticed that I was like, is that Suo has like the water there. And then he's like, well, it's so true. And he says, he's like, oh, you agree, Suo? You, thank goodness. And he says, I'm on a diet right now. And he's like, a diet? I don't know about Suo. Suo's mysterious, but that, I don't know. As someone who's had an eating imbalance in the past in college, that makes me a little concerned. I watched a speech this last weekend that it was talking about relabeling eating disorders as eating imbalances, because it's not really, there's a stigma against EDs that it's like something is wrong with you if you have this. And it's not necessarily that. So I love the idea of the imbalance, that it's really just something is not balanced within yourself and how you, in your practices. And so I prefer that as somebody who's had that in the past. And so I worry a little bit about Suo. Maybe it's nothing. Maybe it's not anything to worry about. But the fact that he's like, oh, I'm not hungry. I'm on a diet right now. I'm like, you fought too. You may need to eat something. Like, why are you dieting? Why are you restricting yourself? What's wrong? Is everything okay? It worries me a little bit. And Sakura kind of like observes over at the moment, but he's more concerned with, Sakura's more concerned with, how can you eat together with someone you just fought? Also, look at Choji just like holding the chopsticks, like, talk about primitive. He's like just eating that fried chicken with like a fistful of chopstick. Crazy. He's like, Sakura's having a hard time wrapping himself around the practice. He's like, to begin with, can you even call that a fight? Sakura is very much like, you just let this guy waylay on you and bite your freaking neck like a vampire, and now you're just fine eating with him. He's like, I don't know if that's acceptable. And then Sakura says, I could never do that. That's not something that I could do. So yeah, so I thought they were going to question like Sakura in this moment, but instead they question Togami, who's not eating anything. And it's mainly because he just feels so bad about what's happened and asks, for them to apologize. Also, I like the detail that because it rained, you can see like the little puddles. They put like the cardboard down like as a little mat, as like a little quilt, a quilt of cardboard. These poor delinquent gang members, like no quilts here, no blankets, just cardboard boxes, I also like that everybody's shoes are like off to the side. That's really super cute. Love that. How Hiragi sits in them pants, your guess is as good as mine. And so Togami talks about how the whole incident was his fault. Everything was his fault, and then it makes Choji also apologize as well. And Umemiya's like, well, he's like, you heard him. Sakura, what are you going to do? That was a move. And I like Sugi was like, what? And so he's like, you got involved. He's like, you decide what the punishment is. I felt like this was a testing moment for Umemiya for Sakura. Because Umemiya is like, look, I also like how Sugi's like, why am I not involved in this decision-making process? I helped too. We both sprang into action at the same time, actually. But I feel like this is Umemiya testing Sakura and saying, okay, because it's going to connect to the conversation they have later about him headed for the top. He's like, okay, you want to be in charge. You want to take the top spot from me. Okay. Now you tell me, how would you punish them? How would you deal with it? Because Sakura, is stray cat coded, but Sakura is also, he's a lot of bark, but then he's not as much bite. He likes to be like, well, I would never do that. But then when it's like, okay, well then what would you do? And he's like, oh, well, be less lame. When it comes down to it, he's actually like, well, I'm not going to be mean to them. I mean, we got this all. Sakura's just like, he's more of a softie than he wants to let on, right? Because he's balancing out in his head the images of Togami breaking the glass over the guy's head, which made him mad, but then him and Togami fighting, having the conversation, and Sakura being like, well, I thought you were an asshole, but then I fought you and realized that you actually had all this other stuff going on and you weren't as bad as you appeared to be, so, okay, here's what we're going to do. And then he tells him he needs to be cool. And to stop being lame, you have to become a really cool guy. I just love it. You know what? Honestly, those of you that ship Sakura and Togami, I see the vision in this episode. I see the vision. I am multi-shipping Sakura hardcore. I'm shipping Sakura with Suo. I can see the ship with Togami. I can see a lot of ships. If you want to ship him and Sugi, I could see that. That's kind of fun. Not Narai. Narai is our little asexual being for us. But yeah, I definitely see the vision. So I'm right there with y'all. And I like that Umemiya is like, good answer. You chose wisely. And he's like, I promise. I love Sugi just being like, well, I would have punished him more. And I like Hiragi being like, that's right. That was good answer. Good choice. Good choices were made today. And Umemiya with that just shit-eating grin. I like Umemiya a lot. I do. He's like, oh, what's this? I think it's telling that Umemiya just popped that thing in his mouth without thinking about it or what it was. It applies to a lot of things. And then he's like, oh, it's fried burdock. And then Choji is like, how can you have so much fun being at the top? And that's when he's like, oh, well, he's like, I love to eat food, which is probably why I love Suo's expression of, oh, okay. That was good. That expression was really cute. I love that. I also love these two looking so much the same. It's so good. Again, I see the ship vision. I see it. It is loud and clear. That's so good. But he's like, what's your favorite? And then, of course, Choji likes curry and he likes the omelet rice. I love gathering people and partying up as I eat. He wants to be a social butterfly, talking about all sorts of things and laughing like idiots. Again, I feel like maybe Umemiya was denied a lot of these things growing up. And so he's like, why have this happen? Why let that happen? Let's try to make it to where we can all converse, right? You forget. Here's the thing. You forget about the bad stuff happening in your life. That is it right there. That's why. Because he's grown up in a bad situation and he's like, I want to forget about all that around me that's not good. Let's focus about here and now with all of you people, and that will help to distract from that. That's really it, honestly. And I feel like that's going to be something that comes up later on, right? I look forward to those times more than anything. Because when bad stuff's going on in your life and if you're by yourself, that's all you're going to think about. And that can make it 10 times worse. Whereas if you're having a bad day or you're having a shit time, you kind of want to go hang out with somebody or talk to somebody or distract yourself from that in some way, shape, or form. And that's kind of what Umemiya is getting at. So I feel like that's really telling, and I want to get more into that as we go. He's like, that's why I'm having a lot of fun right now. And that has nothing to do with the fact that I'm at the top. That's the thing. I don't know what Umemiya is distracting himself from or if he knows he's a third year and about to graduate and what's going to happen then. I don't know. Also, can we talk about his hands? In the last episode, when he was punching the ground and stuff, I was under the assumption, I'm like, man, that must have hurt his hands. And here, them hands are raw. Them knuckles are the most raw. Like, not even Choji's are as raw as his. Yeah. And so Choji's like, oh, well, yeah, you could have fun without being at the top. He's like, back then I was having a lot of fun, but then I got so focused on getting to that number one spot that I kind of left everybody else behind, right? He's like, why couldn't I realize it? Well, grass is always greener on the other side. Greener than Togami's eyes. And Umemiya's like, well, yeah, people don't say, well, thank you, oxygen, when you're breathing. I love it. I freaking love it. It's just, I love his expression there. It's super cute. But yeah, you just don't, you don't think about that when you're aiming for that. It's not something that immediately would come to mind. You had fun stuff right in front of you, and it was too commonplace for you to realize. Yeah, exactly. He's like, again, it feels kind of like maybe the opposite scenario of what Umemiya started with, because Choji always had fun around him and was enjoying himself, and he didn't realize that he didn't need to be at the top to get that. Whereas Umemiya seems like it's different. He's like, oh no, he's like, I wanted to get the top because I wanted that. And I didn't have that before, I also, can we go back? Togami's expression right there is just, it's a good thing you realized it before it was gone. I'm like, Umemiya's like, you had something amazing right in front of you. Togami. And it's a good thing you realized it before you lost it. I love that moment. That's really good. Love that. So yeah, meanwhile, Sakura's just like, I don't get it. As he puts in like the chicken. Yep. And then, Umemiya has some really great expressions in this episode. He really does. So he says, you knew all of this. He's like, didn't you? So, because he asked her, you knew all of that, but why did you become the top? Notice, Umemiya kind of skirts around the question. He doesn't immediately answer. Right. He just kind of like, oh, just here, have this little kebab. Have this kebab. Don't you worry about that. And then he says, because I want to keep having fun and eating with everyone. And being at the top was the only way to do that. As long as everyone is happy and keeps smiling, I can have fun eating my meals. Yeah, you could. I thought about what I could do in this town to keep doing that. And it just happened to be the top of Furin. That's all. I'm curious how he got the scar by his eyebrow, because honestly, I don't know if I've talked about it before in previous episodes, but it didn't really seem as prominent until now. And now that I've seen it in that one profile shot of him, I can't unsee it. It's like right there. I'm like, okay, what gave you that scar? How did you get led to being at the top of Furin? Who'd you fight to get to the top? Because they had a leader before, so, but that's when he gets into the heart of it. He's like, there were things I wanted to do at the top. If there was another good way to do it, I would have done that instead. This was just a means to an end. And I think that's really important to point out, that Umemiya was open to doing other things. He's like, I could have done other stuff. He's like, I didn't have to be the top of Furin, but my goal was A and B, and in order to get to A and B, this was the easiest and most efficient way to do it. And that's why I did it. And I think that's worth noting, because Haragi's smile, Haragi's like, He's like, if I had, I wouldn't have been able to chow down with you guys like this. I love Sugi looking so earnestly in that moment, and Haragi's just like, yeah, like that's exactly why I followed this guy. But here's the thing. Sakura and Umemiya are both actively choosing to do things because it is something that will make them better. Like Umemiya is like, I have to be at the top of Furin because it will allow me to have these meals with other people and these dialogues, and it will help to take my mind off of bad things, and I'll be able to like enjoy myself. So that's why I'm doing it. It's to better myself, is by being at the top of Furin. That's my means to an end. And with Sakura, it's kind of the same thing. Sakura's like, I have been alone and I've had to use my strength to prove myself, and my strength gives me safety. So if I'm at the top of Furin, I will be the safest. But it's kind of interesting because, you know, Sakura starting out this series kind of had a Choji way of looking at it, in that, oh, if I get to this place, I'll be happy. If I get to this place, I'll be safe and secure. And that's why I'm doing it. The big difference is Choji had right in front of him everything he needed. He didn't have to strive for the top. They're all right there in front of him the whole time. And that's what he needed. And I feel like Sakura in this episode, I don't know if he realized that he's kind of like Choji in that he had everything right. He has everything now right in front of him. The difference I was going to say was that Sakura, the town he came from, he didn't have that backing that Choji had. So of course he would pursue the grass that's greener on the other side. But now that he's in Bofurin and he has these friends and realize he has a support network, he now is kind of in a similar boat as Choji. So it's like, do you need to pursue the top? God, I love it. Like, Uma-chan, you are really something. You got to the top knowing so much about yourself. And he's like, oh no. He's like, I didn't know, but you can't reach the top by yourself, you know. And that's what gets Sakura, because that goes back to Tachibana telling him, like, you're never going to get to the top because you're alone. And that's what she was meaning. She's like, the show was discussing for me, and I was like, save some for the discussion. But basically, you know, Tachibana and Umemiya in this episode are like, I got to the top because my friends supported me. And that's kind of like Choji too. Choji knows that because Togami and the others literally hold him up, like symbolically in the previous episodes. They literally hold him up. He is supported by all of those under him. It's the same with Umemiya. Umemiya just knew that being at the top did not change anything that was with you before. You're still who you were before you got lifted up. That's not going to change. Choji thought it would change, but Umemiya knew it wouldn't. He just knew that being at the top would give him the opportunity to be able to do the actions that he wanted. But yeah, he's like, I was able to become the top because everybody carried me up. And so Sakura believes that, you know, there's no way for him to do it because he's like, oh shit, I'm by myself. And Umemiya has all these people supporting him. So no wonder he's at the top. He's like, there's no way I can get there because I'm not the same as him, right? So I thought about it when I got to the top. My wishes were no longer just my wishes. They were other people's as well. No matter what obstacle or how unreasonable or irrational it'll be, I will never, ever lose. That moment he was saying that, looking not at Choji, who asked the question, but right at Sakura. That was such a good moment. That's my favorite moment of the whole episode. He's like, all these people are supporting me. My goals have been intertwined with theirs. And now he's like, I'm not going to lose to you. And just, it was immediately said to Sakura, like, that you want to throw down a challenge and be at the top and beat me? All right, go for it. I'm not going to lose. Ooh! Ooh, the gauntlet was thrown down. That stare almost needs to be the thumbnail. I don't know if it's going to fit, but that almost needs to be a thumbnail. That's such a good look. He's like, you want this position? Come and get it. It's like Eowyn off of Lord of the Rings. If you want him, come. Or no, Arwen from Lord of the Rings. If you want him, come and claim him. He's like, okay, sir. But then at the end of the episode, Umemiya's like, look, what's interesting is there's a transition. He's like, I'm not going to lose to anybody. And he looks at Sakura and he's like, you hear? But then at the end of the episode, when Sakura kind of seems more defeated and he's like, well, there's no way I can become leader because I'd have to beat you. And Umemiya is like, oh, well, you missed the point of of what I set up at the after party with Choji and Togami. He's like, you're not going to beat me in a fight, Sakura. That's not going to happen. He's like, but you might be able to be my successor if enough people support you. He's like, you're not going to beat me in a fight. No. But if I graduate and leave or go on to bigger, better things, somebody's going to have to take my place. If you get enough people supporting you, like I had people supporting me, then yeah, you might be able to do it. I love that gauntlet being thrown down. That's so freaking good. Oh, it's so good. And Sakura's just like, oh shit, I got called out. Like, he knows exactly what I want, and I've been called out. Okay. Alrighty then. So then, yeah, it's because you're not fighting for anything. I like that Choji realizes that he's like, I've got stuff to work on. He's like, my fists have no weight. I like that. For some reason, I thought of Haikyuu when I saw him raise his fist to the sky like that. I thought of Haikyuu. He's like, I've got to figure out how to make my fists gain some weight, which means he has to figure out how to get, you know, basically how to translate the love and support from Shishitoren. He's like, I want to protect Shishitoren. I need to find a way to translate that to make my fists heavier because I'm protecting them and I'm supporting them, etc. You know, he's got to figure that all out. I love it. So yeah. So then they leave. I can't get over Sugi's like hunched over, like just, he reminds me in that moment, in that panel there, of just being like Frankenstein's monster from the new Frankenstein movie. That's all I can think about. But yeah, he's like, well, just come on in on our time. So I want to say the red bean bread from the Cactus Bakery. I mean, that's a good offer. That's good that you volunteered to give that to Choji and Togami. It made for a nice little moment later on. That was in his pocket the whole time. The whole time, like Sally Field from Mrs. Doubtfire, the whole time. I was like, as he was getting pummeled on the ground and you were sitting on him, I was like, that's been there the whole time. You've been sitting on him? Okay. All right. I mean, I guess it's still good. I think it'd be squashed all to hell, but, you know. He's like, their bread's delicious even when it is cold. Mm-hmm. He's like, next time we'll get some fresh out of the oven. I like that they got, I don't know if Umemiya has an accent with his character, because I'm not good at telling Japanese dialects at all. Not really. Maybe Kansai Ben's like the one I can get, but that's literally it. But it sounds like he has an accent, so I don't know. But yeah, I'm sorry. Also, damn, y'all that are shipping Sakura and Togami, the way that Togami looks over and smiles, and then you see like Sakura be like all flustered. I mean, I get it. I see the vision. I'm kind of torn. I like both ships. Mm-hmm. We all know who Umemiya is shipping. Umemiya is like, oh, you really like Togami, don't you? I was like, that rainbow moment, Umemiya is like, he's got BL fan fiction on everybody in the crew. He's already wrote all of it. Mm-hmm. Then we have this scene. Togami's little sweet eyes, so freaking cute, adorable. So anyway, Togami and Choji have this cute little moment where Choji's like, you know, he's like, apology is not enough. He's like, that was kind of a formality. And he wanted us to buy him food. Because Umemiya just wants to, he's good for a meal. He's like, but I don't know what to do now. He's like, I need to do something else. I can't just let it end here. But I don't know what the next step is past this. And then he's like, I love that he said he doesn't know and his eyes are so big. And then Togami's like, well, the same for me. He's like, we'll have to figure it out together. What I've done isn't going to go away. I love it. But after I apologize, I don't know what I should be doing. But that's all the more reason, you know, to figure it out together. To look for the answer together this time. And they split the little pie in half. They split the bread in half. And it's just the symbolism of the bread. It's like light like the sun. And the inside is dark, kind of like their personalities. And it's just, so freaking good. And then they eat it in unison. And I love that he's like, oh, he's like, well, he's like, this bread's really good. I wonder what it's like fresh out of the oven. And then Togami starts to like cry because Choji is being able to move on. And he's just such a good person. And they're both just like commiserating together. And then he pulls the Full Metal Alchemist. It was just rain. I was like, what are you, Roy Mustang? Mm-hmm. Yeah. How dare. Mm-hmm. That was super cute. I love that little moment at the end there. Sasaki, my dude, you could have waited in the bakery. There's windows, my bro. There are windows. You didn't have to sit outside. There were windows. Tachibana could have got you a cup of coffee or a hot chocolate, and you could have waited for them to show back up. What are you doing? Oh my God. I do love that he goes back. Also, I want to see. What was Tachibana cooking there? Was she had some work there? Oh, okay. Interesting. She has some math homework. Interesting. I'm curious about that. Them some geometry graphings if I've ever seen. I'm curious if she's in high school. So like, is she doing like some homeschool work to like go get a job afterwards somewhere else? Or to maybe go to a university? Maybe we're setting something up with that. Interesting. Like, how does this work? I'm fascinated. So he's like, oh, you waited for us the whole time? And he's like, oh, yeah. And Umiya's like, what'd I tell you? Everything was going to be perfectly fine. It's super cute. And of course, Sakura's all, oh my God. So I was expecting her to be more surprised by how beat up they were. And I don't know why I was surprised or expecting her to be more surprised. I guess I was expecting her to not be as surprised, to be more surprised because of how bloody it was. If this didn't faze her, I don't want to think about what she's seen. That feels ominous in itself, right? But yeah, and then so Shishitoren's still staying around as is, right? I guess Tachibana's like, so we're just gonna leave him. It's all good. And then Umemiya's like, Kotoha, we're back. I love him just going towards her in like a little jump, like a freaking South Park character. That's so funny. And then she just like, Olay. I love Narai in the post-credits. He's like, he can't beat her. So does that make her the leader of Bofurin? And it's like, now you've caught on. That's so funny. She's like, we made it back safe and sound. Yeah, we're friends with them now? ? Neri-kun, an excursion lasts until you get back home. She's like, you sure have big fights each time. I like how Narai didn't fight. So Narai is just like, fine. Sakura and Hiragi and Umemiya look like they've been through a bloodbath. Sugi has a little bit on him. Suo is pristine. Suo looks like nothing's touched him. Suo's like, I don't get blood on my shirt. It's kind of against my principles. Yeah. Hiragi, this isn't much of anything. And then she's like, oh, you sure are looking cool. I like that Suo's like, I don't sweat much. Suo's like, I don't get dirty. Let's clarify that. I'm very curious about Suo's character. I want to know more. Meanwhile, Sakura looks like he's been through a washing machine. And she says, welcome back. And of course, Sakura's like, grumble, grumble, grumble. And she's the one who told him it was because he was alone that he wasn't going to be at the top. And she's just going right along with Umemiya and what he was saying. I mean, Umemiya and Tachibana have grown up together. They're childhood friends, so they both share in each other's ambitions. I feel like there's a lot more under the surface with Tachibana and Umemiya that we haven't even gotten into, so I'm going to be curious to see what more we get on that. Also, I like the fact that Narai talks about Sakura being quiet the whole way back, showing that he's observant, that he noticed, that he was caring and paying attention, and he's getting ready to leave. But then no! The rainbow is very indicative of this whole series, right? Right? Are we all good with that? Right? We have the gay and bisexual rainbows together. Describing this entire cast, right? So also Umemiya lifting Sakura up two-handed. This man's a monster. An absolute monster. I just like Suo smiling the whole time like, okay. It's great. It's absolutely wonderful. Love it. He's like, get us some special coffee. I'm assuming that special coffee is just like with creamer or something. This is so funny. I love it. So he just tosses Sakura into the booth like a sack of potatoes. He says, you had a conversation during your fight, so this is a dialogue anniversary. Or basically, as Hiragi explains later, it's just a welcome party. Like, welcome. You're in Bofurin. You had a dialogue through a fight, and you reached Togami. So congrats. Sakura's like, what are you talking about? He's like, I want to talk with you. I love this. I like that we had, like, Suo and Narai were over on the far end with Sasaki, and then Hiragi. I like that Hiragi is near Umemiya at all times because, the ship, but also because Hiragi is one of the four kings that are under Umemiya, so he's like his right-hand man. And then Sugi is right next to them because he wants to be, because Umemiya is like his hero. He worships him. right? Also, I'm noticing the little tiny packets, the little sugar packets in the cups kind of make them look like plants. That's super cute. He's like, I'm telling you, I didn't have one. I didn't have a conversation. And then Umemiya's like, oh, you took it literally. You took it literally. And then, I'm sorry, but the reactions of everyone here is adorable. Sasaki's like, I don't know what anybody's talking about. Suo's like, that's so precious. Naraya's like, oh my god, you're such a romantic. I didn't know. Hiragi's like, you kid, look at you being all cute. And Sugi's like, I would have thought the same. That's what their expressions kind of read. Normally people wouldn't expect that. He's like, I didn't give you a proper explanation. I like that Sakura gets mad. He's like, but you're an honest kid. He's like, I don't hear voices. Also, he puts extra sugar in. When I said fists were a language, it's not a spoken language. And then he talks about how basically we talk through our fists. What gets conveyed is primitive as well. Meaning it's very surface level, but also very authentic, I guess is the way he's saying. He's like, when you're fighting somebody, you figure out who they are, and you figure out, like, do I like this person? Do I not like this person? Based on their attitudes. And he's like, whether you like or hate somebody. He's like, we're shipping through our fists. Also, when he says whether you like or hate them, the fact that Sakura spewed coffee all over Umemiya, oh my god, just insane. I'm like, uh-huh. Mm-hmm. We're doing a lot of shipping in Windbreaker, and I'm kind of here for it. Mm-hmm. I like that Sugi stood up like, who do I have to fight? I love it. Narai's face there is hilarious too. I love that. I like that Tachibana just gives him the towels being like, clean that shit up. So yeah, he's like, you had a conversation with Togami. He's like, you like him, don't you? You jumped up to punch Tomomiya because, they were getting on to Togami. That is proof that you were able to have a conversation. I mean, the ship is already set sail. There's no stopping it now. He's like, what of it? Just because I could do that. He's like, well, that makes me happy. I feel like after this fight set and after seeing Sakura and Togami's battle, I think Umemiya is looking at Sakura like, one day you might be able to take my place. So I want to make sure you're ready for that. He's like, I didn't know who would come here as an outsider, but I'm kind of intrigued that it was you. Someone like you came over to our town. That makes me happy. And I like Sue and Narai are like, mm-hmm. And Suki's like, I wish she hadn't come. It's funny. This is the welcome party. And he's like, how? How can you accept things so easily? How can you let it slide? Everyone in the town and Furin too. And I like that Sakura is honest. I mean, Umemiya said he was an honest kid, but I like that he's honest. He's like, I'm here to beat you. I'm here to take the top spot. Like, why aren't you pissed? Like, why aren't you worried? And then we get this heartbreaking, angsty shot of Sakura in his angsty gray hoodie, just in Angst Town, saying, I've never been able to accept anyone else. That's why I decided to become stronger on my own. Sakura could have easily been the antagonist of this series. Could have been. Instead, he's our main character. I came here because I wanted to get to the top and accept myself for who I am. I like that. I like that it's a little bit different than Umemiya. Umemiya seems to be that he wanted to get to the top so that he could be able to do what he wanted and keep on having these experiences with other people to distract from how bad things might be around him. And Sakura's like, well, to escape the bad things around me and to accept me as someone that's, worthy of value, worthy of acceptance, worthy of belonging somewhere, that's why I'm going to get to the top. So it's similar, but a little different. Mm-hmm. But it seems like I need other people in order to do that. And he's like, because the thing is, Sakura doesn't think he can change when we, the audience, know he's already changed a lot within 10 episodes. He's like, well, I can't accept other people, so I'll never reach the top. And that's when Narai's like, sure you can. I'm going to help you. Remember back in episode 3 or 4 when I said I was going to help you get to the top? I'm still here. You said I wasn't lame. So Sakura already has people on his side, and he doesn't even realize it. And Umemiya notices. Umemiya's like, uh-huh. He's like, what do I want to say? And Suo's like, you got your point across. Yeah, I feel like Suo would support him too, right? And he's like, Sakura, did you know the conditions for being able to converse with your fists? You have to confront someone and you need to want to know them. That's why you were able to converse with Togami. And then Sakura's like, oh, damn, you're telepathic because that's exactly what I thought about Togami a few episodes ago. So, wow, how about that? Yeah, like, Sakura looks like a cat that just had a cucumber thrown in front of him. Like, he's just like, what? How did you know, Umemiya? But to accept, you have to face each other first. And you're capable of doing that. I like that Umemiya's like, you're bold. You're not afraid to confront someone and to have that conversation. He's like, that's important. You've got to do that. You can't know somebody until you confront them. You can't become knowing of them and get their side of the story unless you talk to them. And sometimes in the circumstances we're in, we can't talk unless we get down to brass tacks. I love it. And you're willing to accept. That's the thing. When Umemiya asked him, how do you want to punish him? It was a test of, okay, are you able to accept what you find out about Togami and Choji? Or are you going to stay grounded in your beliefs before you got to know them? Because now that you know them and now that you've had that conversation and you kind of get where they're coming from, are you going to be as harsh about your opinions of them as you were at the start when you saw Togami break that bottle over his head? Because you didn't know the full story. Are you willing to accept and understand what's being given to you from the other side? And he was. And that is when it goes back to Tachibana and she's like, you haven't given up on others yet. And you don't need to give up. Look this way as well. If you can do that. And then I love the overlapping of what she says and what Umemiya says. She's like, you'll become what you want to be. And he's like, you can become anything. And then Umemiya just has that big old smile on his face. And Sakura's left being like, I love it. I love it. And Tachibana's like, okay. He's like, what if I reach the top? That means that you've lost. And he's like, oh, well, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. I feel like Umemiya's like, okay, well, you get it. You get everybody on your side and then we'll have a fight, you and I, and we'll talk about it. I feel like that's like climactic. I don't know. I don't want anything bad to happen to Umemiya. This is the first time I got like foreshadowing of something bad happening to Umemiya. Here's my thing. And this goes back to the very beginning of our conversation is I feel like Sakura will slowly but surely, as time goes on, get people on his side and get people to support him and reveal that he's a nice guy that wants to help others and get people to respond to that like they've responded to Umemiya. And then I think we're going to get a badass mofo that's going to be sinister and dark and doesn't care about kumbaya, let's have pub food on top of rooftops, and will beat the shit out of Umemiya. And then Sakura's going to have to step up to maybe be like an interim leader of Bofurin while Umemiya is recovering, and people will support Sakura because of all the stuff that's led up to that point. And then Umemiya is going to be like, hey, you're going to be the leader now. It's time for me to pass the torch on to you. I'm calling it now. That's what I'm calling it. I'll probably be wrong, but I'm calling it now. And I like in that moment that after he says, we'll cross that bridge when we get there, Sugi stood up. Because again, what that is inferring is that at some point, Umemiya will pass on that leadership to Sakura, and Sugi's like, I don't know if I can accept that yet. That's a little too soon. Because he's about to throw the chair, and then Tachibana's like, if y'all are going to fight, take it outside. Yeah, because Sugi's like, I'm not going to accept you becoming the leader. No. And then episode 10 is called Dialogue. I love it. Oh, I love it. It's so good. It's so good. Oh, y'all, this series, I tell you what, this series is so much fun. And for being an in-between episode, like to round out this arc with Shishitoren, to be like an in-between episode, and there's still 2 members of Shishitoren we've not even seen yet, so they could come back and be seen in future seasons. But to round out this arc, this is a pretty damn good episode, and I'm excited next week as we start the new year to be starting a new arc and finishing up season 1. 3 episodes. We're going to finish it up next month and then take a break before we start season 2. That's wild. So, y'all. I'm so excited. I hope you all enjoyed this episode as well. I'm excited to hear your thoughts down below. But I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and yeah, I'll be back very soon with more of Windbreaker. And I'll see you then. Bye.